Hi, welcome to week two. We're going to start this week out and we're going to be looking at identifying a purpose statement, chapter two of Creswell text. So it's Dr. Henkel here, so I'll go ahead and open us up in a word of prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you so much for today, and I just pray that you would be with us, guide us, teach us, and I pray that we would be mindful of our time and our talents, and that we would use them to glorify you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. All right, so we'll go ahead and get started. Here is week two in Moodle. This is what your dashboard will look like. We're looking at, and you're going to write your statement of the problem for your research study. So we're going to kind of go over what that is, what that means, how to do it, and then you're going to look at a few examples, and I'll show you those here in a second. So your learning objectives. You're going to identify the key parts of research articles, including the purpose statement, research questions, and hypothesis. We kind of touch hypothesis. We'll go deeper into that in further weeks. We're going to analyze and identify different parts of a research article. So we have three of them that we're going to examine, and I'll show you where those are in just a second. You're also going to be able to define a research problem and provide why is it important to your study. You'll be able to determine if your research topic and can be researched. You'll write your statement of the problem section, including the 5 elements that you're going to learn in this chapter, and I'm going to teach you those. And then you'll be able to write the statement of the problem using strategies taught. And so you'll be able to execute that by the end of week two. So here is chapter 2 PowerPoint of your Creswell text. So go ahead, print that off, save it, and be ready to take notes on that with the next video. These 3 studies you're going to need to print out. I have them here. So the first one is your quantitative study on teacher stress. Let's look at that real quick. Okay, so there's 2 counseling interventions to reduce teacher-child relationship stress. So each 3 of these articles, they all deal with stress, teacher stress, child-student stress in the classroom, educational settings. One of them is a quantitative approach, which is this one. The next one we'll look at is a qualitative study. And then the third one is a mixed method study. So that way you're going to be able to see and read examples of what each of those type of studies look like. Because remember last week we went over and we learned what each of those type of studies are. And for this class, we're focusing mainly on quantitative versus qualitative. And you remember when I asked my sister which one she would like, I was like, oh, I bet you she would choose qualitative. Well, I texted her and I said, Bree, would you do, I said, quantitative, qualitative, or mixed methods? And I knew that would spark her mind. And so she was like, she didn't even text me back. She called me. I was like, yeah, are you confused? And so I explained to her what we were doing. And she was like, oh, yeah, I'm definitely qualitative. So she just likes to be able to examine that and kind of look at that phenomenon and to be able to talk to the participants and do interviews and things like that. Whereas I am more of a analytical approach, and I just want to get the facts and then get it on paper and then analyze it that way with quantitative. So for this one, notice here is your abstract. So in the beginning of an article, that's kind of going to sum up what the article found. Okay, so they're looking at child-centered play therapy, CCPT, and then teacher consultations for this, and they're trying to see if those work. Are they a proven method to help with teacher-child stress in the classroom? And they are. When you read it, you'll find out, yes, in fact, they are. So know that whenever you're going to write your study, this abstract section, that's going to be the last thing that you're going to write, because that kind of just sums up everything. And then it goes into kind of like its literature review section. So the next part's kind of define the different stress factors that it's analyzing and looking at, the play therapy and kind of what they're going to do. And so this is like the literature review, and it shows what the literature has done. Then look here, here's the purpose of the study. So this section is what you're going to be writing this week. You're going to be writing your purpose of the study, your problem statement. okay? And you're going to find it in this section here. And so for your assignments, you're going to need to pay attention to that section for your assignments this week. Just know whenever you're reading research, I was always taught you're going to kind of skim it. You're going to look and see what the abstract says always. You need to look and see who wrote it, when was it written, and then you kind of skim over the literature review, and then you need to pay attention to these very important sections like the purpose of the study, and then the methods section. Who were the participants? Where was it at? What site was it? And it'll kind of give you a little bit of information there. And then what instruments did they use? So they used an index teaching stress instrument, and they used a Likert scale. So that's like A is strongly agreed, B is agree, and so forth. So that's a Likert scale. And so that's why it's quantitative. And they used, I believe, an ANOVA approach to analyze this one. So here's the procedure section, okay? So just pay attention to these sections, and it's going to kind of help you understand what is in a research study and how. And here's the ANOVA analysis and where they talk about that. And then here's the results section. So the data analysis is important, and then the results section is also very important. And so here's how they, in a quantitative study, show the data. They always use tables, and they group it. This is the mean, the standard deviation, and then here's the end. That's like how many people they looked at. And they looked at pre-test and post-test scores. And this is all in the article, so I want you to read it, but I just kind of want to go over what this looks like. And don't be overwhelmed with it. I know a lot of students like, I don't understand this, I don't get this. Just take it one piece at a time. You're looking for each section. You'll get better at reading the results. They always sum it up for you, so then you can read that and then go back and read the statistical analysis and how they did the methodology with the ANCOVA and the ANOVA analysis, okay? So just also pay attention to the discussion section, and let's see, we'll keep going. Implications for research, the limitations, and you're going to get familiar with all of these components of research. Okay, so that's the first one, that's quantitative, okay? So print those out, and then you're going to read each one of these, okay? And then the next one is your qualitative study on teacher stress. This one's really interesting, and this one's a little easier to read, okay? It's your qualitative study. So read this one. I think you'll appreciate it. It's talking about teacher stress and how teachers respond to stress. What can they do? What do they do to help deal with the stress that they face in the work environment? And so it gives a lot of great information regarding that topic. And the last one is your mixed method study on teacher stress. So for this one, here's your abstract. It's in the beginning right here, so you can read that. And then it kind of goes into the introduction section. Remember, your qualitative mixed methods are going to have a smaller literature review in the beginning. It's not as heavy as like it is for your quantitative studies, okay? But here it is. And I really like how they, in this one, because it is a mixed methods, they really have great headings. And it kind of breaks it down real easy, and you can see how they grouped their literature that they read, and they grouped it together. So this one's a really neat study to read. Here's the methodology section, their data analysis. And you see how they put analysis of the data. Some people will say data analysis. So it just depends. A lot of journals will have different requirements on how they want their sections labeled. So it just depends how the publisher, how they required for them to do that. Okay, so it just kind of goes and it talks more about all of that. And so here's their data that they use for their quantitative section. And so they're put it here, the percentages. And then at the bottom, it tells you how many people that they looked at. It was 39. Okay, so this is real easy to be able to read whenever they have it like that for you in a table format. So let me see if there's something else I wanted to show you in this section. this discussion section. So just go ahead and pay attention to that. They did different types of data collection for this. They did a web-based survey, they did written reflections, and they did interviews, which were more open-ended. And so that's the qualitative piece. So they got both. They got a Likert scale type data, and they did part of their questionnaire with that, with their piece of data instruments. And then they also did, so that would be your quantitative. And then they also did qualitative, where they did interviews and surveys and open-ended type questions. And they really looked at the participants and asked them different questions to learn from them and to develop themes across their study. So read that, see what they discovered on teacher stress. Now, the next piece of information that I'm going to help explain to you is your first assignment for week 2. Now, you're going to get a little heavier load than you did for week 1. So let's just look at this. So for this one, you're going to read those 3 research articles that I just showed you, and then you're going to write an essay on the similarities and differences on the 3 types. So how are their methodologies different? How were the number of participants different? These are questions that you can ask yourself as you are comparing the similarities and differences with these articles, okay? So you're going to want to use quotes from the paper. You're going to want to use APA formatting when you do that. So you're going to use your APA manual for that. You're going to let me know if you don't have much experience doing that or if it's been a while, because I can help you. I'm going to do a few videos on APA formatting and how that's supposed to look. Also, when I give you feedback on your assignments, I will direct you to specific page numbers in our APA manual to let you know, okay, this is how this needs to look. And then I'll make that as a comment, and then you will go in and you'll fix that, and then you'll accept those changes, okay? You need to use a Word. We've already discussed that. I need you to use Word whenever you're doing things like that. And then do 2 to 3 pages in length, double space, 1-inch margins, 12-point font, and then upload your response. And then here's how you're going to get graded for that specific assignment. But say the last name of the article, the author is Smith. So you put Smith, and then you would put the year that the article was published in parentheses, and then say you're going to quote them, do a direct quote. Well, then I need to have the page number for that direct quote. So you'll do it like that. We'll go further in details on that as we kind of dive in deeper. So the next assignment, you're going to look at those same articles, but now I want you to specifically look at the statement of the problem in both of those studies. And I showed you kind of where that's located. You're going to identify them in the quantitative and the qualitative studies. I want you to explain how the quantitative statement of the problem is best suited for the quantitative article. And then you're going to do the same thing for the qualitative study. We're not looking at the mixed methods one, okay? So just the quantitative and qualitative articles. Then you're going to look at the quantitative article, and let's say you wanted to change it to a qualitative study. How could you do that? And then I want you to think the reverse. Look at the qualitative one and think, okay, you know what? I'm going to change this to a quantitative study. How would I need to reword and write that research problem, statement of the problem? Then, okay, so that's how you're going to be graded for that. And then as we go over our PowerPoint presentation, you're going to get real familiar with statement of the problems, how they look for qualitative versus quantitative, what they look at in specifics. Okay, so don't worry about that assignment. Don't do that assignment until after we've gone over the Chapter 2 PowerPoint. Okay, so your next assignment. Okay, so now you get to write your statement of the problem. So you've looked at some in articles, you've compared them across the articles, you've read it in your textbook, we've gone over the PowerPoint. Now you're well versed and you're pretty knowledgeable on how to write a statement of the problem. So you're going to identify a topic in education that you want to focus your research study on. So I want this to be what you are going to do your research paper on. So really think about it, because right now we're going to be building off of this assignment, and we don't want to change our topic later, because then you're going to have to redo everything. So really think hard about what it is that you want to write your research study on, and then commit to it. Okay. We're going to write a paragraph of the problem statement for your proposal, and it's going to include the followings in the paragraph. You're going to identify the topic and the research problem. Okay. So that's the first thing that you do. You have the topic, and that's more broad, and then you're going to go and narrow it down to your research problem, and that's more narrow. Okay. Then you're going to justify the reason for the study. Why is it important that you are going to study this topic? And then you're going to examine and you're going to identify the deficiencies in the knowledge of the problem. Okay. It says you'll be assuming that there's no specific research on your specific topic and the participants. So deficiencies, we're going to go over that in more detail. So just hang tight on that one, okay? And the audience that will benefit from the studying of your problem. And there's actually 5 sections that you're going to include for this. And as we go over the PowerPoint, you'll be able to have a clear understanding of this assignment. So this is just an initial draft as you start building your research proposal. And I expect that there will be some changes, okay, as you progress. You don't need to resubmit it here once you make those changes. Like when I give you feedback, all you're going to do is make the changes and then hold on to it. And then for your next assignment, you're going to build off of it, and then I'll see those changes there, okay? Remember I showed you that template from week 1? Use that as you build, and you just kind of erase the section for the statement of the problem, and then write it and then put it in there. And then next time you'll add in the next part and the next part and so forth. Okay. So just stick with your topic. Let's not change it. Let's see, anything else there that I need to mention. Okay. So here's how it's going to be specifically graded. So look at that. Okay, and then just like last week, every week you're going to have your weekly notes that you're going to submit and your reflection. Now, I've had questions on the weekly notes. Yes, you can type those up. They can be a PDF. Um, some people, they were just wondering if they could type it up like as a Word document and submit it that way instead of just taking notes on the PowerPoint slides. Yes, that's fine. However works best for you, whatever is your strength in taking notes, I'm completely fine with. Okay, so I've had 2 questions about that. And that reminds me, whenever you have a question, please, please, please put it right here. So that way, when somebody asks a question and then somebody else has the same question, they can see it here, and then they can be like, okay, well, I know the answer to that question. So thank you, Caitlin, for doing that for us. You are awesome. Okay, so I know that's a lot, and it seems a lot because you haven't gone over the material yet for chapter 2, but don't stress. It's going to be just fine, okay, as you read your teacher stress article. So all right. So I think that's it for kind of the overview for the week. So if you have any questions throughout the week, please let me know. And also, if y'all have anything that y'all would like for me to pray with you with or over, just please know that I do like to pray for my students. So if there's anything going on and you need specific prayer for a family member, something personal going on, just let me know. And that's what I'm here for. Okay. So y'all have a fantastic week, and I'm here if you have any questions. Thank you so much. Take care. Bye bye.